Welcome to Christopher George, the solution series. I'm the man with a plan. Not left, not right, not red or blue. Oh, oh, this is about what's right. Oh, oh, and what we do, Harlot integrity driven. Standing for this land, real leadership for all America. No parties, no games, no smoke, no spin. Real talk, real vision. Let's begin.
Hello and welcome back to Christopher George, the Solution Series. I'm Christopher George, a man with a plan. Today's conversation, a conversation with MAGA. I got questions. Before I even start though, I got to put some broadcast issue, talk about the broadcast in itself. I just kind of want to set some expectations, not just for the podcast, but for what leadership should look like moving forward. That's what my podcast is all about, guys. I originally started this over the immigration issue. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, the military gave me some pretty good training on how to figure out some solutions. So I applied that training to the immigration problem. I think I came up with a pretty good comprehensive immigration solution. So if you get a chance, look at that. But that's what I'm here to do. Talk about solutions moving forward. And like I said, reset the stage for what we expect from our leaders and also what our leaders should expect from you. So this is me trying to reformat something that's been going wrong for a long time with us. The conversation between what leadership and what the people that support that leadership should look like. Am I a leader? Yes. 25 years of leading in the most dominant military in the world that the world's ever known. So there's no question about that. I just need you to follow me and understand where I'm trying to go, because I do have a plan. And that's the key here. I do have a plan. I'm not just coming to the table I'm not asking you for anything other than you to sit down and listen to me and give me some support on trying to move this country forward. What I'm trying to do here is not about me. It's about the people. Some of you don't need leadership. Some of you are self-starters. Some of you move on your own. I call those the gated community people. You live in these little gated communities and stuff, and, gas prices go up, food go up. It doesn't really affect you too much. But you guys are the ones that vote religiously, continuously. So my plans, the plans I come up with, they really don't impact you a lot, but I need your help in enforcing them, because I think we have to do better, guys. Well, I don't think we have to do better. I believe that as society progresses, so should its poor class. If you really look at our current poor system, it's not really designed to help anybody get out of it. It's designed to help people stay in it. All right. I think I've come up with a way to help people get out of it. I think the future of our country and the future of the world is we'll talk more about that. But like I said, leadership isn't just about talking. Leadership is about pointing out what's wrong. Leadership comes prepared with a plan and the courage to talk about it openly. The plan I bring isn't rigid. It's strong enough to move us forward and flexible enough to improve through focused conversation. Because the best plan, I believe, will always be the one shaped by the most thoughtful input. That's the expectation here. This space is for discussion, but discussion with a purpose. If you engage, I just ask you, be direct, be respectful, focus your energy on the plan. If you see a flaw, bring a fix. If you have a what if, bring a solution. Noise doesn't move us forward. Thoughtful contribution does. This podcast is about America, but it's not limited to America. Once I started putting these solutions, I guess it's a platform I put together. I got education, I got voting, police, immigration, water improvement. I guess it's a platform. I didn't put it together for a business or for profit. I put it together because it needed to be put together for the people. There's no profit in people, guys. I know a lot of you think the country should be run like a business, but there's no profit in people. But there is a way to get profit. You just got to be smart about it. We got to be smarter about it. We live in a connected world. Many of the solutions discussed here can be applied anywhere. People are working to build People are working to build stability, dignity, and opportunity. My goal is to help America lead again, not by force, but by example, so others can adapt what works for their own communities. Guys, when I was in the army. I'm gonna give you a story. When I was in the army, we deployed, and I remember distinctly those people looking at us when we went to Iraq, and they looked at us like we were saviors, and it felt good. We were America that were lead. We were leaders. Then later on, I deployed. I went on a trip to Afghanistan, and here I am. When I went to the first time when I was in Iraq, I was on a tank, a combat mindset. When I went back to Afghanistan later on, I was as an officer, working at echelons above, working for the command there. But I got an opportunity to sit down with an Afghani, and he spoke real good English, and he told me, he goes, and I never thought about it like this. He said, "Hey, Chris, when you guys know what you guys look like?" I go, "No." He goes, we often call you guys the stormtroopers. I said, "The stormtroopers?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Because you guys remind us of those soldiers on Star Wars." And I never viewed us like that, but I guess if you've never seen American equipment, if you've never seen anything like that, I guess it does look like that, you know. Then I look at what's going on in the streets right now in America, and I kind of see the same thing. Most Americans don't understand, military strength and military power and what it's used for, and it's not something we should be used on Americans. We'll talk about that later on my vet thing. My goal is to help America lead again, not by force, but by example, so others can adapt, that others can work for their own communities. And like I said, let me be clear about something I believe deeply. I believe there's always a nugget of truth and experience and insight. In every person, there's something valuable, something learned, and something earned, something seen from a perspective no one else has. That's why I welcome you, everyone, to the table. Because without you, there's no us. Without shared experience, there's no progress. So everybody has a seat at the table, guys. And I don't just say that. But let's be clear. Don't just talk just to fill the space with noise. All right. But with that welcome, like I said, comes responsibilities. Those insights and experiences are meant to build, not tear down, to strengthen ideas, not sabotage them, to move closer to solutions, not deeper into vision. This is about evolution. Evolution as a country, evolution as a people, evolution as a world. Our tools today are more powerful than they've ever been. Our ability to build is beyond belief, but also our ability to destroy. That means our responsibility is even greater, to do better, to think deeper, to lead smarter, and to work towards peace that works for everyone. Guys, that's the expectation here. That's the standard. Now it's time to get to work. Conversation with MAGA. I got questions. So like I said, I usually do solutions, and that's my thing. Is I find a problem with America and I talk about a solution. This one kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I'll be honest with you, because it didn't start off the way most of my days start off. This happened on a weekend after I was coming from the gym. I was at the gym actually, and finished working out, and I went into the sauna. And when I went into the sauna, there was already two older looking white guys in there. And so I jumped in, and then about 2 or 3 minutes later, a younger looking white guy came in. So it was me and three white guys. And, today's sauna is almost like the barbershop. If you get the right people in there, you can have a nice little conversation, about current events and stuff like that. And we started talking about, a little bit of everything. Guys were talking about the prices of gas, and I'm in, talking about, food prices. And guys, I understand something. When I talk about anything, in politics, I'm always coming from what's the best for America perspective, not from a party. I find no enjoyment in making Americans look bad for any reason. That just doesn't make no damn sense. But I get it. You know, when I really thought about it, I said to myself, when you go to high school, how many people graduate and go to college? Not too many. So for the most everybody, a majority of high school class graduates high school and they go into the workforce, go into the job market with that same damn high school mentality. And I think that's what we see right now. A lot of mature adults with the same high school mentality who never had a chance or reason to evolve, sometimes because they haven't stepped past their own street. We got to do better. We got to do better. You know, you got leadership right now is turning a lot of people, standing behind microphones telling you a bunch of things that sound great, but don't actually go anywhere. I'm not here for speeches. I'm here for plans. You know, but with this conversation, I was like, you know, things are getting bad, but the young guy, I could kind of feel his energy. It was kind of little. It was a little high. You could see his little hyper and stuff like that. And we got to talking, and the first thing he said that hit me was, I was talking about, politics, and I say, listen, guys, and so when it comes to leadership, I said, there's no good or bad. I said, but integrity, is everything. I said, that's where I start and stop. I said, if I also feel somebody doesn't have integrity, I pretty much stop listening to them because they really don't have much to say that I'm interested in. I said, keeps things simple for me. We got to talking, and then the younger kid, and I forget exactly, I can't remember exactly how this came up, and I apologize, but I found out later why it came up because it's a big issue on X right now. He goes, well, the Republicans, the Republican Party now are the ones that the Republicans are the ones that freed the slaves, huh? He goes, yeah, the Republicans are the ones that freed the slaves, and guys, if you don't know, you do now. I have written a book, and like I said, I'm not here to promote myself, but I only say this to give you some perspective. I have written a book about the Civil War. It's about three African Americans, one born in Africa, one born in America, and one born in America became a slave. One was born a slave, and then one born in Africa became a slave. Three different perspectives. And I got the inspiration after my last job in the military when I was teaching at West Point. We did an officer trip to Gettysburg that lasted a couple of days. And it was probably one of the most profound experiences of my life because we put all the general names in Gettysburg battle in a hat. And then we pick a name out of the hat, and whoever's name we picked, we'd have to be that general for the battle. So if we got into that particular part, we walked the whole battlefield. First of all, Gettysburg, that's huge. But if we got to a part of the battlefield where we had to know the terrain, we had to know the locations of the army. So it was a real deep analysis of the whole battlefield. But like I said, if you got to the area of that battlefield, you had to step up as that general, whether you're north or south, and say who you were and talk about yourself. But it was just one of the most profound experiences for me. So when I came out of that, I said, I'm gonna write a book about, the black experience in the Civil War. And I did. So this guy telling me that, the Republican Party back then freed the slaves, was not new information to me at all. In fact, I knew that. And because I had often asked the same question as a black man, how did the Republican Party become so the way they are now? With the embracing the racists and embracing the white supremacy and the Christian whatever they call it, Christian nationalism. How did they get that way? And what you find out is that during the civil rights movement, the church, Democratic Party, a lot of the church wasn't feeling the civil rights piece, the Southern church. And so a lot of those Democratic members the Democratic members migrated to the Republican Party. And that's how you got, the racist aspects of the Republican Party in it right now. Because I had even thought about running as a Republican, bringing my platforms to the Republican Party. Because, like I said, nobody has a plan right now. Nobody. I've reached out to Democrats and Republicans. Nobody wants to talk about movement. Nobody wants to talk about a plan at all. I get no play on this. So that's what I'm saying, guys. It's going to be, if we're going to fix anything, it's going to be up to us to look at this current system and fix it ourselves. So I told this to the guy, and I guess he didn't. I guess he hadn't. He didn't. He didn't know that to that extent. And like I told him, you don't have to believe me. You can Google it and everything. And then he said something that really that was the opening salvo. But this was the one that really got me right here, guys. And this is the one we need to talk about. This is the one that got me to really think about America and look at it in a different light. He goes, a poor white kid has less of a chance of getting in college than a poor black kid because we have so many systems set up in place for poor black kids and minorities to get to college that a lot of the poor white kids aren't getting in. I go, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, a lot of the poor white kids aren't getting into college because of these programs that the minorities have. It's all for the minorities. There's nothing for the poor white kid. And I'll be honest, as a black man, I never thought about what happens to poor to white people in particular, because the system was designed for you. But I had never thought about that. So I didn't have any numbers. I didn't have any stats to argue it. And I told him that. I said, listen, brother, and I said just like this. I said, listen, brother, you know, I don't have the numbers to argue or deny what you're saying, but I can't see that being the case because, like I just told you guys, the system is designed for you. He goes, no. He goes, poor white kids, they have a less chance. I said, okay, I'll give you that for right now because I don't know anything better. I said, but I will look it up. And I said, if that's the case, that's not a good thing for anybody. You know, that's not a good thing for anybody. You know, but I know some of you have been looking, oh, what was it? There was no fight here. There was no shouting match. There was nothing. There was a conversation between two men having a conversation. But me being a lifelong problem solver, I learned that real leadership isn't about teaching. It's about stepping back, examining the issue, and then asking them questions that most people avoid. Not to provoke, but to understand. Not to score points, but to find a way forward. And I think that's what this episode is about. The questions that surfaced from this conversation with this young man. You know, it's questions we always ask, but we really explore. You know, especially from someone who has nothing to gain politically, financially, or socially. I have nothing to gain by this conversation, guys. But America has a lot to gain. No material motive, no side to sell, just a genuine attempt to understand why certain problems persist and why the solutions we could pursue often never move past conversation. I don't claim to have a single answer to everything discussed here. Some problems don't have clean solutions, but I do believe there are practical ways to make things better across the board if we're willing to focus inward, think structurally, and hold the right people accountable. This isn't about blame, people. This is about responsibility. It's about shifting the focus from noise to action. And it's ultimately about moving from a talking to each other to thinking with each other, because that's the only way real progress ever happens. You know, so I said, you know, the conversation with that young man had me thinking. You know, he brought up a key point. You know, and I didn't have the numbers on it. You know, so I did. I went to go look up the numbers. You know, I went to go look up the numbers on what is really going on with that. And here's what the system says, guys. It says white students receive about 70 to 72% of private scholarship dollars. Black students receive under 10%. It says poor white students receive more total Pell Grant dollars than poor black students, simply because there are more poor white students overall. So no system isn't handing black kids everything, but there is a key part. And this is, I didn't know this either. And this makes perfect sense if you think about it. Because more poor black students are more likely to live in urban areas, they're more likely to be nearby colleges, they're more likely to have public transportation, more nonprofit outreach, and then more counseling pipelines. And then poor white students are more likely to live in rural areas with fewer colleges, limited transportation, weak broadband, underfunded schools, and almost no outreach. Those are two different perspectives in the same United States that we have to even out, because it shouldn't be like that. And that's not favoritism. That's infrastructure. So I've just identified a problem. Well, I was told a problem, reflected on the problem, seen where the issue was. Then I even wanted, and I opened it up with the Gettysburg piece because there's something in Gettysburg I never understood. You got poor white kids. I mean, these mugs were dirt poor in some instances. I'm talking about they didn't even have shoes on their feet. They stood shoulder to shoulder, letting rounds the size of damn marbles come at you. One round would hit you in the shoulder and blow your whole arm off. They stood side by side, poor, nothing to gain. They weren't going to get a slave if they won. And at one time during that whole Civil War, that they asked the rich white plantation owners to make their lives better. Because even in Jim Crow, their lives never got better after the war. It still was the rich. So my question is this: how come or why hasn't poor white America depended more on rich white America for some of its fixes? Why do they look at minorities and say that they're the cause of the problem when There's money out there that could be used to flip whole communities. You know, one of my favorite movies was A Coal Miner's Daughter with Sissy Spacek. I love that movie. Dude, oh, you're just a big buyer, dude. I love that movie. But I used to look at the way those coal miners lived up in those goddamn mountains. They live and it's cold up there. Do you know how much money those coal mines were making? Why is it acceptable for all those coal mines and people to make money like that, but not put money back into your communities? Why is that acceptable for you? You got these, you got these young men walking around here. They're angry. These young white supremacists, they're angry. They think that the minorities are taking their country. They say the yacht orders for America have driven up. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I heard. Because of the number of millionaires we're having in America, white millionaires. Why isn't some of that money being redirected to you guys? Why aren't you guys more mad about that? Because if you did get them to get back the money back to you, I have a plan, a low income transformation plan that could change all these communities, flip them all, and change and not just provide new structure, but also provide a new way of living that creates, gives some respect and some nobility to the poor. The low income transformation. If you could get one millionaire to flip a city, I got a plan for you right now. And then the plan also calls for a big party at the end where we can generate more money. So not only do you get the new house, but you have a big unity party. I'll help you put it together. I don't mind white people helping white people to build a better America. That makes sense to me. If you're racist, it makes perfect sense. But if you're racist too, why aren't you demanding this from your own people? Because now I go from my left, I go to my right. Now I look at my people. I look at the minorities, the blacks and the Hispanics. What the hell are we doing? We got billionaires and millionaires too, who grew up in projects, the same projects that you see right now. Not one of those projects has been flipped. And I'm not calling anybody out, but I've seen those projects in New York. I've been in them. Guys, you can work with the city, come up with a plan, hire some architects, come up with a new model, new format for those projects, work with the city, work with a hotel chain to say, hey, we want to relocate all these people here for about 3 or 4 months. Pay for it because you have the money because you're making millionaires. Tear down those projects, rebuild it using my lit transformation. And now we build a community that doesn't keep you there. It helps you survive and live there with respect and nobility. We should be doing the same thing. We should be doing the same thing, guys. Everybody should be demanding more, and we should be giving more if you have it. That's the way it is. But we have to give that makes sense into a system, into a plan, into a vision. Something I don't think we've had a vision since the 40s, in the 50s. I don't think America's had a new vision since then. And I'm not saying this vision is white America take care of white America, black America take black America, and Hispanic America take Hispanic America. I'm saying that if we have the money to do it and you have a problem taking care of other people, then how about we take care of each other? Let's clean our own houses. Let's require that our houses take care of us. If that's the way we want to roll. Race loses its grip when people can live with dignity. And that's a true statement. We got to get over this race shit, man. We got to move forward. I believe if we can move forward individually and we can all move forward together. Because if everybody's looking good, nobody will have no problems. I think that's a true statement too. If everybody's looking good, I don't think anybody would have any problems. If everybody's living good, I don't think we'd have any problems. I'm putting solutions out for a new America. One that's learned lessons from the old America and is trying to move forward. I need your help. I need you. I need your voice. I need your energy. But more importantly, I need you to grow and evolve as people. We're petty, and we need to quit being that way. So I'm going to end it with this, guys. I don't want to keep this too long, keep it short. I want you to know I love each and every one of you. Even if you don't love me, I lose nothing for loving you. All right. But if the energy comes out of me and you feel a little bit of that, you gain something. That's all that matters. All right. I lose nothing for loving every one of you. But I'm coming out with Talk about veterans next. And then I'm going to talk about, a unified policing force. And then I'm going to talk about the spine, which my AI is telling me will probably be one of the largest projects in American history. But I think it's something that we need to do to get us moving again as a country. And I'll talk more about that too. But I appreciate your time. And like I said, hit like, pass it forward, and let's start this movement, the new America. All right. Moving forward. We got to do that. We got to do better for ourselves. You rich people out there, stay rich. All right. Stay rich. But I need your help. All right. We need to help each other. And I got a plan that helps the poor but not gives them anything. All right. I don't believe in giving anybody anything. Okay. Just understand that. I believe people who work for things appreciate things better. That's just the way it needs to be. So all my plans involve people working and doing something. So I'm not giving anything away. So if you're one of those people that think, handouts are bad, I'm with you. But I do believe people do need handouts, but we got to give them a way to get out of that situation. And I think we're smart enough and we got enough tools and enough things going on to help people to do that. So with that said, I said thank you and hope to see you again next time. Oh, I'll do a live one with questions and stuff. I'm gonna keep doing them like this right now because I need you to listen more than talk. All right, if you don't mind. But I will do a live one if I can get 50 go lives, on this feed, this posting. Then I'll reschedule. I'll go ahead and do a live conversation with MAGA and call it. You got questions, and then we can go live and everybody can chime in and talk about this if that's what you want. But I'm here to answer questions too at the same time. I don't want you guys to think that I'm not, trying to avoid anything. I'm here but I don't want to waste anybody's time and have a live show and nobody shows up. I'll go live if you request it. But like I said, thank you and take care. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you believe in.